Really? I didn't know that at all. No.
So I love my right-hand point breaks. What's up, Rincon?
We don't blame you at all, by the way. There's no... You're not hurting our feelings. You're not hurting our feelings. We know this.
You're like, move out. Everyone move out so we can have the waste ourselves. But yeah, I think in terms of the people... New York is unlike anything else, and there are incredible organizations like La Rubea, Benny's Club, who are really changing things out here. And yeah, Rockaway is just such a diverse community, and I think it brings me so much joy. California is, it's still a little bit diverse, but honestly, not really. And the localism is insane.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's just a different world. Yeah. It's a really different world. But New York is so inspiring to me all the time, and the people who surf here are always so inspiring to me. Yeah.
Mariah?
Yeah, it's definitely, New York is all about the people. The people are incredible. There's so much energy and vibrancy. To the people that grew up there and surfed there. Yeah, I lived in New York, I don't even remember, for several years.
What is time? What is time? It's just a construct.
It was like 2017 for like 4 years. And yeah, I mean, you have Karen there, who is this like force of nature. And, I thought about living in New York and being inspired by the surf community there. I mean, Karen has so much energy and knowledge. And
are you talking about me?
Yeah, she's talking about you.
Karen?
That
no, yeah, I mean, for example,
Kaza.
Yeah, that's my name in Australia. For
yes,
sure.
your Aussie first name.
And the more you could throw away that last syllable, the better. Just
Kaza.
Yeah, and maybe, I heard it thrown around once in New York that like the waves aren't amazing all the time. And so people kind of get more into the board design or the history or like arguing about stuff even.
Or Tyler.
I don't argue.
Tyler just talks a lot into podcasts.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think one of the things about New York that allows it to have this kind of vibe is the transience of New York City.
Yeah.
A lot of people come and go through here, and there's not actually, particularly Rockaway, you don't have like this hardened set of locals who grew up there, live there. I mean, they are there.
Shout out to all the mics.
Yes.
But
they are
they've
there.
been outnumbered too, because it was like that when you first 10 years ago. It still had that vibe.
But you have so many people who come in from all over the world who are here in New York for whatever reason. They're not here to surf. They're not coming to New York to be surfers. They're coming here for something else.
Yeah.
And that transience allows a little bit of leeway in the lineup, right?
It does. And accessibility too.
Yeah. Totally. I feel like that definitely helps like with creating a little bit more of an open lineup, and you can't be such a grumpy local. And also because you don't know who you're going to be shouting at. It could be like a super famous artist, or it could be the contractor you need or the plumber that you need. Like it's so versatile, everyone here, that you need to be friendly with everyone. And it's become a very social activity as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think to me, what's so great about the New York lineup is what makes New York great in general. The fact that we have such an interdisciplinary kind of set of people in one space, especially surfing, because it really cuts across class, race, where you're from, around the world, what profession you have. There's so much like interesting kind of, exchange and like friendship and, and also age variance. And so that creates this really interesting, like amazing like petri dish that is so unique in the world of surfing and in the world in general. So I feel like I love the culture, the surf culture that comes out of it. Like even like the Saturdays magazine was so beautiful and what it was, trying to do. It could have gone further in terms of representation, but things look so pretty when they come out of New York, and there's a lot of really good thought that goes behind those intentions of, bringing surf to light.
And
from
we
where we're
love the
from.
fact that you highlighted the Benny's crew in this
Or
magazine.
a lot of New Yorkers,
A lot of
actually.
New Yorkers, you know.
Yeah.
But,
and Matt
but,
wrote the
Matt-
article with Saatchi.
Yeah.
but I mean, the Benny's Club was really cool because they're a fairly new phenomena, but I think they've already made such a
So
huge
much
impact.
traction, yeah.
You know,
They have in a huge way. And yeah, part of me wanted to start off this, we're doing this kind of locals story each issue of
I love
flipping
it.
the term of localism on its head. And yeah, in my heart, I was like, oh, it has to be Rockaway, the first issue, because it's just such a, I don't live there anymore, but it's so dear to my heart. And yeah, I think Benny's is doing amazing things. It was wonderful to work with Momo and Johnny and the rest of the team who were profiled. But yeah, and Mariah was reading through their answers when they submitted them, and she was like, oh yeah, like this is exactly what makes me love like New York, and like these are the kind of things that I want to read about. So yeah.
It shows us the possibility of what our community can look like, and that's the most exciting thing. I think that's why it's gotten they've gotten so much traction, not just within the surf community, but outside. I had more people who weren't involved in surfing reach out to me. Have you heard of Benny's Club? I want to be involved. I want to do something. Fashion brands who've reached out. I mean, it's just been like amazing to see, and I think it's very unique in the relationship to the water, the beach, but also it's like gender fluid, and it's you know the whole realm of that LGBTQ plus identities, and then also the BIPOC aspect of it. So it just cuts through so many different hurdles that I think we as a society kind of have to address and improve on, and just like stretch our imaginations of what our humanity can be,
Yeah, and they're making that space their own, you know, like, the term Benny is a non-local,
Yeah,
but
I
I think
that.
it's just brilliant that they are making that space their own. And I have many bones to pick with the term localism.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we could do a whole podcast on that.
Well, one thing though I do love is that they're not immune to complaining about crowds either.
I mean, who is?
I mean, when you're a surfer, that's what you do.
I know.
You complain about something.
I was like, yep, you're just like us all. It's great.
Universal surfer trait.
I don't know. Yeah, like Karen and I had one of my favorite surf stories is Karen and I organized a trip to the Moluccas, and the locals.
Oh God, we're not supposed to say where it was.
We'll beep that out.
Oops, edit.
Yeah. Whoops. Karen and I organized a trip to West Papua. West Papua, you should look up everything about that area.
Everyone's going to be going there.
Oh no.
It's a little difficult to get to, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. It's impossible.
West
No
Papua
one
is
should
like a
go.
colonized area of Indonesia, so it's very different. If people look up West Papua, that's actually like for me that's one of the most important. Yeah, that's one of the more important issues in Indonesia at the moment. Very different from that area, but yeah, Karen and I organized a trip in Indonesia to a remote area, and the people there were amazing. They're not used to surfers, and they're also really social and really friendly. And I remember it was 3 of us out, and I asked a local guy, like, hey, do you like surfing better when there's alone or when there's like a crowd?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I like it better surfing in a crowd, like with you guys, like with you two.
Well,
I remember that. Yeah.
Everyone loves surfing with friends,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tried and true theme throughout surfing, actually, and there is the quote, from Bear in Big Wednesday, like, you're always alone in the ocean. But, that movie is all about the friendships. And I always see that theme constantly throughout all of surf history is about surfing with your friends. And that's one of the best parts about surfing is you can go with your friends and enjoy it. And I think that's a real common theme.
But I also think there's a bigger story here, right? Like if we can remove this idea of like ownership, even like our people out in the water, and tap into our humanity and just come into the lineup and say everyone here is potentially like my people.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not just the idea of your friend, but the idea of like respect, right? Our mutual human respect for each other. So that even when it is you want to get your wave count in. Yes, I understand. But it's also just to kind of take it in as I hate to sound woo, but as a spiritual experience. Like there's so much to gain from being in the water, not just communion with strangers and people you know, but also just, you know, the quality of light, the water itself, the marine life that might, you know, surprise you. And there's so much to gain. And I think that singular kind of perspective and expectation of that moment, that time that you have, precious time you have in the water is so, I think you're doing a disservice to what surfing has to offer, you know?
Well, surfing is a mirror. It's really what you project onto it, I always felt. You know, ancient Hawaiians, it was all about going out together. They would ride waves and share waves together. And there was all sorts of different interpretations how we surf today. And so, you know, I think it's really what we want it to be. And it can be really nice in the lineup, even with crowds. It can, you know, I was saying to someone the other day, like, I enjoy going surfing, even sometimes when it's small and crowded. There's always someone really fun to talk to. And if the waves are not good, like you can still you can connect with someone on a human level at least.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to play devil's advocate to what I just said also. So sometimes it's really hard.
Debate yourself, Karen.
Yeah, because I was thinking like how I love going out in Rockaway. No matter what, I love, but I feel like it brings a certain kind of person. Like it's a community of values. And there's some lineups that I've gone to that, and I guess I should practice my own, like what I just said, like try and just appeal to other people's humanities. But like, for example,
certain spots on Long Island
around, with certain communities, like for example, in some areas that I might go to in Orange County that are still like of the old suburbs, the populations that there's a different value system, and sometimes it's hard to penetrate that and also find common ground other than surfing, but then also what you interpret as your surfing time. So whether it's something that might be based on a kind of colonialist model or, you know, like there's going to be areas where, and maybe this is what this is about, for us to all be in the water and just like be near each other and maybe be friends with each other, even though we come with different values, and be able to kind of, you know, cross over and bridge that gap.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day also it's all about leading by example. And Tyler, you're so right that surfing is a mirror, because whenever you're in a bad mood or a selfish mood or whatever, when you're out in the water, like it never works. You'd fuck up a wave, or someone will drop in on you, or you'll ding your board. And it's just about, leading by example. And Karen, as you were saying, being in some tough scenarios when, the culture in the lineup can be pretty kind of toxic and weird, but you know, you have to, I've definitely learnt in California to be a little bit more assertive and to, you kind of have to be I am a woman and I look about 12 years old. So people, I just always get old men coming up to me and just giving me unsolicited advice and
the
things.
Coaching,
the coaching.
Yeah.
Or someone actually told me one day when I paddled out, he was like, "Oh, I thought you were a beginner when you paddled out, but you're actually pretty good." And I was
why?
like, "Okay,
just keep your mouth shut.
yeah,
like,
just
why
don't
even
say anything."
Why?
And I used to get really mad and frustrated, but now I just let it just wash over me. And obviously, there are certain things that you do have to take a stand for, but it's all about leading by example and having a good attitude and safety first, respectfulness. Yeah. But I believe in that as a kind of way to approach surfing, but not in the traditional term of localism. It's not for me.
And I think that's also why we also want to pay homage to the women of the past. For example, the women who pioneered in like Girls Can't Surf, and then of course the generations beyond that, or any woman that surfed before our time, because they had to make those inroads. They had to hold that space and claim it and say, I have the right to be here.
And also people of color and other backgrounds as well. One of the things that I love about this, and one of the things I've also I really appreciate a lot of, like with Mariah when you're posting a chill history of surf and other things, is, you know, it gets me thinking about there is a much larger surf history that has yet to be properly told. There's a huge history of LGBTQ plus surfers that have not been told. There's a history of different minority and different people of color surfing. The